So this is the no grade 1/144th Sumo from Turn A Gundam. Fantastic series if you haven't seen it. It's a little bit different than your typical Gundam series where you'd have a lot of spacefaring, adventure, and space politics. Turn A Gundam is during the Industrial Revolution era, and people come from the moon who say Earth is the rightful place, and they send a young guy down to see if the Earth is good to inhabitate and take over. And he ends up really falling in love with Earth and choosing to fall in with the people there and help defend it from the moon invaders. Really cool hook to the show. It was not pushed very heavily by Bandai, so their model line for this series is really small. They've only done the high grade for the main Turn A Gundam. But these are all no grades, so they're a little bit less complex than the high grades that you'd see. And even an entry grade nowadays that those exist, but this would be essentially what that would have been back in the day. It's a model that is in scale with your other high grades, but most pieces are just two pieces sandwiched together, maybe with a polycap in the middle. I'm actually pretty happy with how this guy turned out, but there's some major flaws here. So lighting on this one is a little bit weird because this guy's fully metallic, so trying to make sure that it's not too blown out was a little bit of an effort. But so these are typically silver Harry Ord, the Char Aznavour clone in that show. He has a golden one, so I do eventually have to get another one of these guys and paint them, but they only come up used in Japan auctions or Japan used model stores or thrift stores, because since they don't reprint these, I'm typically concerned about ruining a model like this. But I just want to do something simple, just kind of painted the canon colors on the box to a degree. I usually paint, very anime, try to go clean. I've gotten more into like dirty, weathered builds lately, and some of them have turned out honestly really nice up on the shelf. But the problem with this guy here, we're going to do a checkup and diagnosis, so let's start that. So the main underlying issue here is texture. Like, he looks quite okay from afar, but then you get up close and look at this. That was like a jump scare. Holy crap. So what happened here was kind of a series of unfortunate events that I'll get into, but you know what, all things considered, this is definitely a Sumo. You see it, that's a Sumo. I'm happy with it in that respect. So the panel lining came out alright, the black details came out alright. The shield I didn't clean up. This is intentional chipping, metallic chipping on there, but the yellow accents definitely, this is acrylic on acrylic, so I think I just did not go back and paint over it. Typically I like to do lacquer and then acrylic for details, if I can help it, if I have those colors. But the reason why this guy came out the way he did. Gaia paint, great stuff. It's basically analogous to your Mr. Hobby, typically, I've found. When I got a lot of used paint, it came with this thinner here, right? And this thinner is lacquer thinner for lacquer paints. I use it with all my Mr. Hobby stuff too. I know typically people don't like mixing brands, but I haven't had a problem mixing lacquer paint with this Gaia thinner. And that's typical Mr. Color we're talking here. So like a Mr. Color lacquer can mix well with this. And then a typical Gaia color can mix well with this. And this would be a metallic gunmetal. So this would be a bit too dark for a Sumo. Let me see here. I don't know, you can kind of see in that pot maybe, but this is like a dark metallic gunmetal. So that's not going to work for painting a Sumo, right? Mr. Metal Color. This stuff is weird. This stuff I bought without really knowing about it, and this requires a dedicated thinner. A lot of the side brands of Mr. Hobby need a specific different thinner, right? So you can use it out of the pot. Honestly, this stuff is actually, look how thin this is. This is kind of crazy. I mean, that's probably just all of the thinner on top, and the pigment's also, yeah, the pigment's all waiting at the bottom there, you can see. But yeah, this stuff does not thin typically very well with normal lacquer thinner. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but for me it was not working. So here you'd have a normal Gaia metallic. These metallics are so nice. It's so shiny with my ring light. You can barely even see, but this is like an insanely shiny gold here. Right, so that's a little bit better. But the best color match I had for a Sumo was this. This is, look at all the words on this bottle. So this is Gaia Color Railroad Models Color Series Stainless Silver Metallic, I guess 1000 grit. I wonder if the 1000 is a grit, now that I'm looking at this. That might actually explain what happened here. But, yeah, I tried to thin this with normal lacquer thinner. And I assume that they sell probably a specific railroad thinner for these railroad paints, because this was not thinning very nicely. It was kind of getting very gloopy, brush strokey. Just not going on the way I like when I hand paint lacquers, or the way I'm used to at least. And maybe, like, I've never done a railroad model in my life, so maybe there's something specific with railroad paint that makes it different, but I'm not aware. Maybe it's because it's supposed to stick to metal. Maybe most railroad stuff isn't plastic, but I'm not sure. So I had it covered with this stuff, and it was so clumpy and grainy and just not even really giving much of a shine. Like, I think this thinner took out all the shine of this extremely shiny paint. And as another example, this is Mr. Metallic Color GX, not to be confused with Mr. Metallic Color. These are two separate thinners. And then I think there's also just like a Mr. Color DX or GX, and that's a different thinner. So try to watch what you're getting and watch the thinners, because even with Mr. Hobby brand, they have like 30 different lines. I talked about that Aqueous one in the Zogok video. And Aqueous is pretty deceptive if they try to market it as just an acrylic water thinned paint. I don't really think it should be used that way. So when this guy came out all clumpy, I sanded down as much of the lacquer as I could. I didn't strip it. I've never stripped a model. That's just like, you know, something that maybe I will do one day, but usually I just try to salvage things or just throw it in the scrap box. But so I had this Army Painter War Paints. Don't kill me. I actually really like Army Painter Metallics. They're really good for acrylics. Maybe it's biased because they were like my first metallic line of paints, and so I just kind of had a lot of fun with them. Jesus. Okay. So then, when I went over with the Army Painter acrylic, though, you get that same sort of problem that you do when painting with any acrylic, and that would be, so, or a lot of acrylics would be the graininess, pooling, clumping. Okay, there we go. Let's get some focus here. Yeah, you can just secrets, and it almost kind of gives like a metal look. It would probably just need a little more work to like bring it out, or a wash, but I wanted this guy to look pretty clean. I didn't want to weather this guy. Not like the other Turn A Gundam, one of the other Turn A Gundam kits I was trying to do a little bit more weathered, or a few of them. These lines could be cleaner, like it looks like I did the face extremely cleanly, like I did a few passes over it, but then you pull it back and it gets a little mushy, like the black lines in between the yellow. Maybe I could, like those edges could be a little bit crisper on those yellow squares. But the black dots, the black lines, that would have been, I would have hit this with a top coat, which that was another problem here, was I wanted this guy to be super shiny, and I went outside with the kids for the afternoon, like I typically do when I get my painting and building done a lot of the times, and I sprayed the model down, and then I looked at the bottles in my shelf, or the cans in my shelf, and I looked at the can that I had brought outside, and I sprayed it matte. And when I posted on Twitter, people said that they use matte for metallics quite a fair deal, which does make sense. Metallics aren't always extremely shiny, and like this guy still is quite shiny. The light is going crazy picking up off this guy. But yeah, it's mostly just pay attention to the bottles because the matte and the I wish I had a full bottle to show, but the Mr. Hobby matte top coat and gloss top coat are basically the exact same bottle. Japanese writing all over it, except for the word gloss or the word matte on it. Another thing to know with this old model too, it's actually kind of really weird. I did break this leg here, but it's just a ball joint that goes in. You know what happens is, I think when I was cementing this leg, I cemented this ball joint right in place, but it goes right in, and can still swivel and stays to a degree. But on this side, yeah, it's a ball joint, as you can maybe kind of make out there. Nothing crazy, and honestly, not a very, like you can see, it's the ball joint is just part of the waist. It's not like a separate poly cap or anything. So that could very easily snap off. And a lot of these retro kits have like pegs and balls on the end that are just so prone to snapping off, and that is going to be a huge video in and of its own of plastic rod and ABS and older red label Bandai kits, because you think you want a retro kit, and then you realize that plastic actually does degrade for some kits, honestly, depending on the combination or the type of plastic that was used. Another problem I have here is the masking. So I masked the stripe here, the red stripe, and I painted this with, I believe, a red lacquer, and it leaked over onto the side a little bit, so I went to clean it up over here, like right here, and when I went to clean it up with the lacquer thinner, it went like through my top coat, like stripped the acrylic paint underneath, like reactivated like it was just a hot mess. And weirdly enough, I found enamel paint, if you're using, or enamel thinner, if you're using too much pressure, can actually pull off lacquer paint too, despite that not supposed to be the case. But maybe I'm just not waiting like the day or two for it to really cure, where like nothing could get that paint off. There are these blue stripes on the back of the legs that I did not. I just hate masking, honestly. I would prefer to top coat something that I did, and then, yeah, go in with the other color and not worry if I'm being messy, and then I can clean it up over the top coat. And typically, the order there, as you hear a lot, is lacquer first, and then enamel, and then acrylic last. Because if you can just wipe off acrylic with water or acrylic thinner, and it's not typically going to mess up your enamels or your lacquers. That's why enamel is very common for panel lining. The last problem I have with this guy that stands out immediately to me and bugs me a lot is as I was like kind of sanding and cleaning up this place, this piece, this chest piece, the details just kind of disappeared, or maybe it was even just one layer of primer kind of took away the panel lines. And these older Bandai kits have very shallow panel lines. But I'm working on this boat right now, and this has raised panel lines, so I would take that any day. But I don't use scribing tools. I don't have a set of scribing tools or like whittling tools or whatever. So I just went in with my X-Acto, my hobby knife, and tried to make that deeper so it would like hold some panel liner. And it did, but it does look like it was just cut with a knife freehand. Like, I know you should probably put scribing tape down, but this is the best I could do. Anyways, if you are watching this video, you've probably already seen Turn A Gundam. But if you haven't, you should go watch Turn A Gundam. And otherwise, I would say the major lesson here is, yeah, just understand that there's so many different sorts of metallics. They don't all work with the same thinner, of course. And yeah, hand painting metallics is really kind of a laboring process. I have another model right now that's a fully metallic silver model from Trails of Cold Steel, and that model will probably require a rattle can, or I'll just start getting into airbrushing in the next year as I work on that model, because I don't want to do this again. Alright, take care.